check this out.
Wow.
So cool.
This is my secret laboratory.
All right, tell us where we are, what we're gonna do.
So again, this is the Ely Callaway Performance Center, and this is the Odyssey putting lab within the Ely Callaway Performance Center. And this is, you know, when I'm working with the staff pros, this is when they're looking for a new putter or they're trying to determine whether their current putter is working properly. This is really the first place we go. This is where we start taking some of the measurements and trying to figure out if first of all, if the putter suits what they're doing. We look at their stroke dynamics and determine whether the putter fits what they're doing. And then we actually even take a closer look at how the ball is leaving the club face to make sure that all the mechanical stuff is sorted out. Now, some of the stuff we'll figure out in here, it won't necessarily tell me if you like the way a putter looks or you like the way a putter feels or sounds. So what you usually want to do when you go through a putter fitting, what's interesting is that it's the philosophy in putter fitting is a little different than fitting a driver. When you're fitting a driver, it's somewhat of a math equation, right? Because you can look at numbers and you can objectively tell whether you're getting closer or farther away from the solution because there's kind of a set optimum you're looking for. In putting, it's not quite that way. Like you could come in and say, I don't want to tell you anything about what I do or what I want or what I like. You just look at your fancy machines and tell me what I need.
Yeah.
And I could do that. I could get there and I go, dynamic lofting is this, and hosel configuration, this, how much face rotation. I go, there you go. And you go, nope, can't use it.
Hate it, yeah.
Right, because that doesn't look right or it doesn't sit right or it sits open or it's too loud or whatever it is, right? And those are important characteristics. And those are not comments that you'd hear as much about a driver. If we get a driver flying correctly for you, you're going to go, wow, I like this thing. You know, because I'm hitting a 280 down the center with a baby draw, perfect. But putting's not quite that way. So there's a little bit more of a Venn diagram of what do you like the look and feel and visuals and all that stuff. And then, okay, we've got a good candidate. In other words, can you play golf with this? And you go, no. Can you play golf with that? Yeah, I can play golf with that. All right, so that's a candidate. So you come up with a number of candidates, and then you start to like narrow down your choices based on which one performs more effectively.
What if you're someone who either doesn't like the way that you're putting right now, doesn't like your putter, maybe it's not your strength? What do you recommend people start looking at?
Well, I recommend they buy a new Odyssey putter. So check that box.
Obviously.
Right? It's really important, all kidding aside, it's really important like we talked about earlier, it's important that they have a putter that looks and feels right. So there's nothing wrong with the way that a lot of amateurs initially start the buying process for a putter, which means they go into a putter pit at a retail account and they go, oh, this one looks nice, and they make a few putts with it and they go, oh, and they go right to the cash register. That's all fine and good because there is some placebo effect there. They know they've checked off the boxes of, I like the way it looks and feels, I've hit a few good putts with it, but they don't necessarily know if the putter fits them or not. So if they have the opportunity to, it's good to at least make sure the specs match what they're doing. Obviously, some of the numbers we looked at with you, that's pretty advanced stuff. You don't necessarily need to peel the onion that deep, right? For a player like you, would want to do it because you're trying to play golf for a living. So it's important we look at every possible element we can change with the club to maximize your performance. But even doing the basic things, which anyone can do very easily as far as fitting the putter, is really important. The first thing would be, and you can usually get, it's just there's people there in the retail accounts that can help you set yourself up to a putter. But first of all, one of the important things is, when you're looking at a head shape, it's like, what do I want really out of this club head? And what do I feel like I need with putting? Do I feel like I mishit the ball a lot? Do I have inconsistent speed control? Do I start the ball way offline? If you start the ball way offline, then you need sight alignment assistance, right? So it's probably good to look at a mallet, which is a bigger head. As long as if you think you like the shape of mallets, then picking a mallet that has sight alignment cues on it, that's really important because it allows you to at least start the putter pointing in the right direction, which gives you a better chance to be good at impact, which is the really important number. Can you score the face up at impact? The other thing you look at is, do I need a forgiving putter? Like some people know, like I hit the putt really solid, but maybe I don't hit it hard enough or soft enough, but I always catch the ball in the center of the face and it always feels like a solid strike. Well, then maybe you don't need quite as forgiving of a putter, but most of us don't do that. And even when I look at the pros tend to miss the ball a little bit too sometimes, typically a little toward, and then amateurs hit it all over the face. But when you have a putter and you start mishitting it, even if you make a perfect stroke, if you start mishitting it, the putter starts twisting and deflecting. And so you're wanting a putter that's very, very stable. Now, one of the nice things about Odysseys is that it used to be that if you were going to choose a putter for its forgiveness and you said, I really need max forgiveness, it was going to typically be a mallet because they're bigger, so you can distribute the weight more and there's more room for error. But truthfully now, like our Tri-Hot putter, those are blades, and with the way we distributed the weight using multi-materials, they're just as forgiving as mallets are now.
Awesome.
So what you want to do is hit one, make sure it looks good, pick a putter that helps you line up and feel like you have some alignment issues, and then you want to choose a length that's comfortable, but if you can get a little bit of help, what I would say that a common denominator that I see among really good players on tour is that they basically swing the putter on whatever lie angle they establish, right? Wherever the angle the hosel is, if it's sitting flat, they typically kind of stay on that angle.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what would be considered a non-plane stroke. So if you look at those rails right there, that would be a way to simulate what a non-plane stroke looks like. Well, the only way you can really get the putter to do that, to swing on plane, is to have good posture alignment and to have your forearms relatively in line with the shaft. Once you get the shaft out of alignment with your forearms, it's really difficult to make the putter swing on a nice flat plane like that. And so there will be different lengths, because there will be different lengths to offer when you go into retail count. There'll be 34 inches and 35 inches and 36 inches and 33 inches. There will be a certain putter where you can get in a comfortable position with your eyes, they don't have to be exactly on the line, but relatively close to the line, where you're at a certain length, your shaft and your forearm will be the most in alignment. Yeah, that's definitely going to help you make a better stroke.
Yeah.
It's going to help you hit it more solid. It's going to help the club swing more on plane and straighter, and it's going to make the variables you have to balance and juggle when you're hitting a putt much smaller, and it's going to be much easier to be repetitive, which is really the key to good putting. And then the other thing I would look at, the last thing, and this is a little bit more complicated, like a lot of putter gurus talk about this, would be the hosel configuration. So this particular putter you have is a putter that has what's called toe hang, and all that means is that the shaft is more heelward, and so the center of gravity is offset to the shaft, and so when we let it go, it bounces under the shaft. So the weight of the head is offset this way. That's what we call a CG offset. What that means is that if you have the farther the center of gravity of the head gets from the shaft axis, and this is where you're putting all your torque in the handle, the more farther it gets away, the more torque it takes to square it up.
Yep.
The common misnomer is that if you have toe hang, that means it's good for arc and rotation. Well, if you tend to rotate the face open and close, which is a perfectly valid way to putt, some people will pick up a toe hang putter and go, oh, it feels like it's off, there's that offset, so I feel it wants to do the same thing I'm doing. Oh, this is great. This is a magnificent love affair. But do you actually square the face up at impact? So that's the really important question to ask, because even if it feels like it matches your stroke, if you get a putter that has too much toe hang for your timing at impact, you'll actually leave the face open, and then that's really the important thing, is can you start the ball in line? So the key is, what hosel configuration allows you to get the face square at impact?
Yeah.
The basic rule then would be, if you are leaving the ball to the right, you don't really want, if you tend to miss it to the right, you tend to push putts into block putts, you don't want a putter with a lot of toe hang. It's going to be harder to get the face square at impact. You'd rather go more face bounce. If you pull it to the left, and you've always used a face bounce mallet because you thought they were more forgiving, try a toe hang blade, especially one like the Tri-Hot. It's forgiving, and it'll be hard to square the face, and you'll pull it less. So it's another thing that you can look at. And one of these the last thing that you would look at, which is really, really simple, is whether the putter is soling correctly at address. And that would be the lie angle, right? That would be the angle between the hosel and the club. And even if you can't see it yourself, you can get a friend, or you can get one of the people that work at the retail account to look at and go, how level is the putter?
So that's something for you guys at home. GOLFTEC actually has an Odyssey fitting system in their location, so you can go and test out all of the stuff you just talked about. Someone will stand behind you, show you the numbers, all that good stuff.
All right, so I'm a big putter nerd. I have every putter there is, pretty much, which is a little bit of an addiction.
We can sell you a couple more.
I bet you can. One thing that I really like about this style of putter is that I have all the technology at home. We have like a putty putter green, we have capto sensor and everything. And I've noticed that a lot of players aim a lot better with this type of design, where you have the different colors. Because it's just easier to kind of square it up. Because the white line kind of creates a perpendicular line to the face, right?
Yeah, very common, and this is the reason we had Versa putters before, and this is the main reason we brought this design back, is because we found, this was definitely a lot from some of our tour players that would say they've really learned a lot about, tour players for sure, because they're playing golf for a living, they've tried to explore what is it when I'm putting well versus when I'm not putting well. What are the things that are really making a difference in my game? So they're more attentive to these small details. And definitely one thing is true for sure that people have found out over time, and our research has proven this as well, is that visually the way someone approaches their alignment, some people it makes a lot of sense to see the target to their left if they're a right-hander, and then have a lot of real estate in the putter to make the line go parallel. And it's like, oh, I can just point the line at the hole. That makes sense for a lot of people. But it's very common. I've been doing this for 25 years. You will get players come in and go, you know what? It's weird because I don't ever even see the line you have on the putter that way. It doesn't even occur to me. What I do is I visualize the line I want the ball to start on, and then I'm taking the leading edge and I'm trying to sit it down there and make a crosshair in my mind's eye. And so what you've said is exactly right. What the Versa contrast does with this alignment system is it puts that in greater relief so that you can emphasize that perpendicularity of the face angle as opposed to just something running parallel to the target line.
And if you guys have never tried or seen a putter like this, go to GOLFTEC location and just kind of look down at it, and you can see how much easier this is to aim compared to some other putters that has no additional graphics, kind of like this.
Well, and the thing that's really interesting, an experiment that really points this out, if you took, like, you have this laser that goes to the hole, and if you have something that's perpendicular, even if it gets just a little bit off, it's really apparent visually when it gets off. And so something about people's eyes, they're really intuitive in understanding how to make that crosshair perfect at 90 degrees. And so that's what the Versa essentially does, is it emphasizes those visual cues.
Exactly. Just kind of come and look with the camera here, you can see it. If you come from above, it's just really easy to see if it's just shut or open with those lines. Not only the face line, obviously, but the white graphics on top of the club face. Okay, that's cool. All right, and now, the most common putter that you fit tour players in, which one is that?
Well, it varies quite a bit. Now, the most popular putters among amateurs and pros are still mallets.
Okay.
Yeah, and that changed. It used to be, kind of a traditional heel-shafted blade used to be the most popular thing you'd see among better players, but that's really changed over the past 10 years, so most guys are still using mallets. Now, I will say they're starting to re-explore some of the toe hang blades again, simply because we start to understand more about the way a putter works. When it comes to like hosel configurations, a lot of people are thinking now, you know what, I used to think that based on my stroke dynamics that I needed kind of a face balanced mallet that was going to be better for me, even though I like the looks of blades. And now that we've learned a lot more about putting, it turns out that for many of these folks that we thought needed to go to mallets 10 years ago, we're thinking now the research we've done on it, a lot of times blades are actually more efficient. It helps that we can now design blades with the same inertial properties, right? You can now mishit a blade toward the toe or the heel and still get the same inertias with a blade now with a mallet, which would not have been the case before. It would have been if you mishit the ball at all, you got to go to a mallet. But now we're starting to head back toward blades again. Things like this are starting to get popular, where it almost looks like a hybrid between a mallet and a blade.
I was going to say, somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle. Some of the blades that have more depth to them, and that's got a double radius bend shaft, so it's got a tiny bit of toe hang, but it's got some forgiveness. It's got a reasonably big head. You can go both orientations on the alignment cues, but it still looks kind of like a bigger blade. So that's a way of kind of blending some of those techniques together. Then you also have that's a very traditional shape with the Versa alignment cues.
This is cool. All right.
But it varies quite a bit, and this is why you look at the putter rack and you see so many different things. I mean, you don't see driver heads you don't have 10 different driver head shapes to choose from.
True.
Because there's something psychologically that happens to people when they pick up a putter. And most of the good putters that I work with on tour will say, you know what, I'm not sure what the magic formula is, but I know when I found it because I look down and I feel like the putter is an extension of me. I don't know where I stop and the putter begins. And sometimes that's a certain type of grip on a certain type of length with a certain type of head. And it's an iterative process. We have to go through that process to find out what that solution is and then make sure it's set up correct technically. But it's an interesting kind of code to crack for each player because each player is kind of has certain idiosyncrasies that we have to unravel.
So Asking You has done this for many years now.
Yep.
Do you have like a favorite putter that most of your amateurs you tend to fit them into, or is it something that you've noticed kind of sticks out?
Yeah, I would say the one, and this has been popular on tour and amateurs, a putter like this, where it's not such a big, it's a mallet, but it's not such a big mallet that it looks like an overwhelming size.
Exactly.
And if you look down at it, just based on the way you choose to visually look at it, that almost looks like a little bit of a blade because it's hollow in the middle. So it suits the Venn diagram of the amount of the golfing demographic that would pick up that putter, like the way it looks and get good performance for it, is really big.
Yeah, and John Rahm has something in between,
similar
right?
to that, yeah. He's definitely tried that one before. He has one called a Rossi, which is kind of a medium-sized mallet, and he's actually got no sight lines on his.
Really?
Yeah, his is an NSL.
Is that what it is over there? Or?
Yeah, so he's got what's called a Rossi, and it would be this Rossi here, but it doesn't have any sight lines on it.
Okay.
Because he determined that when you start putting lines on the putter, it creates more of a distraction. So his is actually blank.
Wow.
Right?
So he has no sight lines.
Yeah, and the reason that is because, and this is true for pros as well as amateurs, is a lot of times people think, well, pros must aim really good. Well, there's always some kind of a differential because I can measure the numbers out to 100th of a degree.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some differential where someone likes to set up the putter aim versus where they come back to impact. So let's say that you set up a degree open, but you come back square.
Yeah.
So your face is more open at address than it is at impact. Well, if you put lines down there and it helps you line up straight, but you still have the differential in your stroke,
miss it left.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So what some players will do, they can go 2 different routes depending on their personality type. They'll go, well, that's stupid. I'm just going to work on that until I aim straight and I stroke it straight. And other people will go, wait a minute. I'm pretty good at impact if I just let the face sit open.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put any lines on the putter that makes me try to square the putter up. I'm just going to sit it down the way it looks, and I'm just going to feel square at impact, and that works for them.
That is super interesting.
So,
yeah, really cool. Okay, I'm at my local GOLFTEC studio, and not many people know that in GOLFTEC you can get great lessons, you can get fitted into driver and irons, but you could also get fitted into putters because they have the full line of the Odyssey putting fitting system. And I'm here with my boy and my GOLFTEC coach, Sander, and we have gone through the fitting. So you quickly kind of let people know kind of what a fitting at GOLFTEC for a putter looks like.
Perfect. So one of the things we're going to be looking at is your current putter, the misses that you tend to have. So for you, we kind of talked about the fact it was long left. We're able to take a look at length, lie angle, how you tend to aim the putter, speed control issues, start direction. So we're able to look at everything. So with your miss tending to be a little bit long left, we went to more of a soft, something that's going to come off a little bit softer with the insert that we have on here. With you tending to miss a little bit more to the left, we got you a putter that has a little bit more toe hang.
Yeah.
That's going to promote the ball to just not go as far to the left. And then you're somebody that also likes to see a little bit more sight lines at the top of the putter.
Exactly.
You feel like, or it seems like that helps you aim a lot better. So that's kind of where we came up with this Try Hot 5K for you. Very similar to the putter John Rahm's using right now.
Exactly. So I tend to miss it a little left, and like you heard in the video, if you miss left, you need maybe a little bit more toe hang to slow down the rate of closure. But I don't really like a blade putter, so Sander found me a putter that's more like a mallet with the sight lines that I like, but also has that toe hang to help me start it a little bit straighter. So John Rahm, I know why you're using this putter. Maybe you and I had similar issues. If you need to improve your putting, make sure you go to GOLFTEC and get your own fitting. You're hitting the putter the most out of any club in the bag. It's extremely important, but most people don't get a putter fitting for some reason. So make sure you do that. Putt better, play better. See you in the next video.